going on, YouTube? This is Rick Sparrow with eXp Realty, and I just wanted to jump on and kind of just talk about what are some expected costs when purchasing a house. Really, what do you got to budget for? People always think, oh my God, I've got the down payment. And they're right. That seems to be, and not seems to be, it is, the biggest expense they're going to make. That's what most people plan for. But there's some other costs that sneak up that buyers have got to be prepared for. So when we think about what costs do we incur, and as a realtor, we talk to our clients, we kind of coach them, and kind of what is the expectation. Even though the finances is not our specialty, and we don't give advice on it, we don't give legal advice, I guess you would say, because it's not our specialty. We have lenders for that, and we partner with lenders for that, and I have amazing partners that help me with that. But with that, we can kind of set the expectation. And the biggest expense is going to be your down payment. But there's this thought on the market when I talk to buyers that they've got to have 20% down. And depending what kind of loan they have, if they're going to have a conventional loan, yeah, you're going to have the 20%. If you want to eliminate your PMI, then yeah, you're going to have a little bit more of a down payment. But that's not a necessity. You can still come in as low as 3.5%, sometimes 0%, depending on what programs you're going with. So the down payment is a healthy chunk. And I feel like that's what a lot of us stress over when we're purchasing a house or when we're dealing with clients. That's kind of the first question is, do you have the down payment? Well, most people, by the time they go to research for a home, yeah, they've set money aside. They've got in their mind that 10%, that 20%, that 25%. And then some stretch it right to the 3%. And when I say stretch it, because, well, it took everything they had to get to that 3%, that 3.5%. So that is the biggest expense that they're going to come up with up front. Their next out-of-pocket expense is going to be your earnest money deposit. And your EMD is going to differentiate every listing. I feel like the common is probably about $5,000, but typically it's about 1 to 2% of the purchase price. The importance of an EMD, it shows how serious you are. So if I'm a seller or I have my sellers and they ask, well, what do we want to set forth with the EMD? Yeah, we'll do the 1 to 2%, or we'll do the kind of the average, the 5,000, and maybe 10,000. The people that submit the offers with a high EMD, it shows they're a little bit more serious than somebody that just comes in at or under. And in today's market, it is a seller's market. So if you're writing an offer and you're putting $1,000 EMD when the MLS clearly states 5,000, that just tells us right there that you're not serious about it. You're not competitive. You see a lot of investors because, well, they need the money in their bank account. They're not going to put a lot down for the EMD. So if we had an offer of, say, $5,000 is our EMD, our earnest money deposit, and we had two offers of both, say, $400,000. One gave us the EMD of $2,000, even though we requested $5,000, and the other gave us an EMD of $100,000. Well, who looks like they're more of a serious buyer? From a seller's perspective, you want that seriousness. You want that commitment. Can they back out during their due diligence? Absolutely they can. There's contingencies to protect them, but they're willing to put it on the line. So from a seller's perspective, that buyer is serious. From a buyer's perspective, you're telling that seller, I am serious about purchasing your home. So the EMD, again, the earnest money deposit, about 1 to 2% of the purchase price. But if you're serious, you're going to put more in. You're going to put what you have. Then your third expense that's going to come out of your pocket is going to be your closing costs. Closing costs can take a little bit of a chunk from you. It's about 2 to 5% of your purchase price. But with that, there's ways to help offset those costs. You can split them with the seller, split them with the buyer, depending what side of the transaction you're on. If you're a buyer, we don't recommend you asking the seller to pay all the closing costs. You're probably not going to get the offer. But again, understand that your down payment, 0 to 20%, whatever your loan requires, is your biggest expense. Your earnest money deposit is going to be your next expense out of pocket. And depending how serious you are about it and how much liquidity you have in your bank account, you're going to put a fair amount down just to show your sellers that, hey, I am serious about this transaction. Your next and your third is going to be your closing costs. So you take your closing costs, you take your EMD, and you take your down payment. Those are going to add up. That's going to be cash out of your bank account. That's going to be really your little goose egg or your little stash that you got hidden in your mattress that you still have to be able to legally justify and show where it comes from. You got to have a paper trail for it. You just can't show up to the closing table with a wad of cash. It's frowned upon today. But those are the three things when you're purchasing a home that you've got to be able to account for. So if you're looking at a $400,000 home, understand that when you break it out into percentages, if you're going to have a 3% down payment, well, now you got 3% of the $400,000. If the earnest money deposit is typically in the MLS is going to stay at a flat fee, $5,000, then it's $5,000. And then you take your closing costs, 2 to 5% of your purchase price. Well, you take 3%, the 2 to 5%, plus the EMD, add it together. That's the amount of cash you should have set aside just to begin the transaction. That doesn't account for if you want to win an offer, you're going to come a little bit more out of pocket over appraised value of the home. And that's going to be a whole nother video in itself. Right now, I can't get sidetracked. We need to stick to just the money coming out of pocket to begin your transaction. Really, that's what you need to set aside to win your deal. With that, if you have questions, I have amazing lending partners. They are the expertise in the field of financing. That's what we rely on them for. That's what they got their certification. That's why they went to school for. That's their job. And there's many programs out there to help first-time buyers, to help second-time buyers, investment properties. There's a lot of different programs than just apply for one loan and run with it. So if you need information on lender partners, reach out to me. I'll give you a list and you can kind of go through them and decide, you know, what's a good fit for you. If you have real estate questions, go ahead and click the links below and reach out to me. We'll get together, set up a 15, 20, 30, an hour. Heck, I'll buy you coffee. We'll sit down and discuss what are your options to get you into a home. But again, your three biggest expenses coming out of pocket at the beginning are going to be those. It's going to be your down payment, your earnest money deposit, and your closing costs. With that, you know the routine. Like, subscribe, and click on those notifications. That way you don't miss a video that I'm going to put out consistently. This is Rick Sparrow with eXp Realty, signing off.